Hi guys, my name is Jake,
and this is episode 3 of the Poker Log. If you can't tell, we just got a huge upgrade to the vlog. The bedroom shots will now be shot with the Rebel T5, and the audio will be recorded with a Blue Yeti microphone. I also bought two YN300 LED lights so you can see how beautiful I am. My computer takes a while to render the vlogs, so we decided we're going to spend a little money to make that process go faster. Check it out. If there is any tech people out there that are interested in what I bought, I'll leave it down in the description below. Now with all the tech stuff out of the way, let's talk about the plan for today. It is Friday, January 25th, and we are going to Potawatomi Casino to play some 1-3. While I'm there, I'm going to try to get some shots at the table. I looked at the Potawatomi house rules, and it says if any electronic device are being used while involved in a hand, it could lead to a warning, suspension, or even a ban. With that being said, let's go break some rules and play some poker.
I've been running around all day, picking these flowers for you. I swear you don't appreciate all the things I'm doing for you. And I've been running around all day, picking these flowers for you. Oh yeah. I swear you don't appreciate me. There really ain't that much to say. Cause baby, I ain't got room for a broken heart. Had to throw it.
It is the next day. Let's talk about some hands. The session started off with a bang. I was just going to film a couple hands for the B-roll footage, but the first hand we got dealt was pocket aces. In my last couple of episodes, I forgot to write down stack sizes of the villains and my own stack. So if I do not mention them in any of these hands, just assume that we're both around 300. Now that is out of the way. The low jack limps, and I raise it up to 15 with pocket aces on the button. The flop is ace 3-4 with two spades. So we flop a set on a really dry board. You're not going to get paid by any types of hand. So I decide to put him kind of like a joke down bet, and I bet $6. He'll probably call with some 5s, 6s, 7s, stuff like that, or maybe if he has like a pair of like a 4 or a 3, he might call. But he just laughs and he folds. I included that hand. It wasn't very interesting, but I just had to share it because I got pocket aces first hand in. An orbit later, I look down at pocket 3s. Under the gun, bets 10. I call, and so does the big blind. The flop is ace 7-3 rainbow, so we flop another set. The big blind checks, and the initial aggressor bets 15. He should have a lot of ace X hands here, being the initial raiser, so I expect him to bet the turn a bunch, and when he bets the turn, then I'll spring the trap and put in the raise. The turn brings a 2 of spades, and he does check. So now I have to try to get some value from my hand. I put in a bet of $25. I'm trying to target some low ace X, maybe some like ace 8 or like ace 6 or something like that just was scared on the turn because they had a bad kicker. I'm also putting in a pretty low bet to try to get called maybe from some kings or queens or jacks. The river is a 10 of diamonds, so it doesn't really change much, and he does check it to me again. I decided to put in a bet of 50. My thought process is maybe I can get a hero call from some kind of weak ace X. I do not like the bet sizing here. I probably should have bet around 30 and 35 to get a guaranteed call. He thinks for a while and he says, I have a bad kicker, and he folds. So I'm guessing he did have some weak ace X kind of hand, and we just bet a little bit too big on the river. The next hand, I look down at ace 10 suited under the gun. I put in a raise to 12. There's two callers in middle position, and we go to a flop of jack 3 rainbow. I put in a bet and I downsize here to 10. It's a very dry board and I should get a lot of folds, but they both happen to make the call. The turn is a 9. I decided to check and they both check behind. So now I put them on a range of maybe 4s through 8s that want to make a call on the flop, or possibly some ace highs that are just trying to float. The river is a king, and now I have a big decision to make. And what I stated before, I think they should be on low pocket pairs, and I think I can get them to fold. So I decided to put in a bet of 25. The next player to act does make a fold, but the last player, he makes a call and he shows us ace king. So we probably lost the minimum there just because he didn't raise pre, and I probably would have called that with ace 10. So that was just a bad run out there. I do like my play there because if a queen or a 10 hit, I would value a queen because that should be on my range. And I also would have valued the 10 just because jacks would have bet on a turn. So I knew a 10 would have been good. The table I started at was pretty bad and had a bunch of regular players. So I decided to get a table move. And when I table move, I had around 260 chips. My first playable hand, I looked down at pocket kings, the low jack, and the button limp. And I'm in the small blind and I make the raise to 20. The big blind calls the 20 and the other two players fold. The villain starting stack was around $150. The flop is ace 7-5 rainbow. So bad flop for me. I decided to put in a check and the big blind bets $30. My hand is still too strong to fold here, so I lucked on a call. The turn is a 10. I put in a check, and so does he. And the river is a 9. I was thinking about putting in a bet and trying to get value from him. But the only hands that I think he could possibly bet the flop and check the turn are maybe some ace 10 and ace jack. And my hand looks pretty face up. I feel like I have kings, queens, jacks here that were afraid of the flop but still calling because it has strength. So I decided I was going to put in a check call kind of line just to see if he had some kind of bluffs on the river and I could get him with second pair. He does decide on a check and he shows king, queen of clubs. So he was just bluffing on the flop and just checked down the river. The next hand, I looked down at queen jack suited in the low jack. There was two limpers before me, so of course I'm bumping this up to 20, and both the limpers call. The flop is a very good one for my hand. It is jack 10 3 2 spades, so we flop top pair and a flush draw. The initial limper folds, and the next villain does make the call. The turn is a 5, and I put a really interesting bet. I bet $20. The reason I put in the same bet is I think I can get all 10s to call. I could get flush draws to call. I can get straight draws to call. And also I bet this small because he could spaz and put in a raise. And I'm happy to call this off with top pair and a flush draw because I'm never too bad in shape. I always have equity. So I put in a bet of 20 and he does make the call. The river is a 10. So as stated before, I was trying to get a 10 to call on the turn. So when a 10 hits, it's not a very good card for me because I should not have any of the 10s. So he decides to check it to me and I just check it back hoping my queen's good. And I show, and we are. The next hand I looked down at queen 10 suited in the small blind. There was 4 limpers before me and usually I put in a squeeze here to try to get them to fold. At my casino, they have a royal flush promotion going on. And if I hit a royal flush with queen 10, I'll get $3,500. So I decide on just a complete here and the big blind just checks. We are going 6 ways to a flop of queen jack 4. I decide to put in a check here. My pair is probably good, but there's 5 other players that need to act and I do not like to make the first play out of position. The big blind bets 7. All the other limpers fold and I make the call. The turn is another jack. I check it to him and he bets 15. I should have most of the jacks here because he shouldn't be leading in a jack with 5 other players to act on the flop. So I decide on just a call. My strategy here was on a lot of rivers, I could possibly put in a check raise to put him in the tank with some queen X hands. And a lot of the times my queen will just be good. So the river is a 7 and I put in a check and I was planning on putting in a check raise to get him to fold a lot of queen X types of hands. But he does decide on a check. We show our hand and we're good. The next hand is the second biggest hand of the night. It was the very next hand after the last one. I looked down at ace 3 of clubs on the button. There was 2 limpers. I raised up 20 and unfortunately both of them call. The flop is jack 10 9 2 clubs. They both check it to me and this is a pretty easy check back. I'll be checking back this flop with aces, kings, queens, maybe not jacks, but mostly all over pairs for pot control. because this hits the limpers range really hard. They can have Jack 10, Jack 9, 10 9. They can have 8 7. They can have a set of 9s. This should hit their range so hard for a check raise. So we do decide on a check. The turn is a gin card. It is a 10 of clubs. So we make a flush. The initial limper checks, and the next player puts in a bet of 25. He is about $200 behind. So I decided I was going to raise pretty big here to get a little bit less than a pot-sized bet on the river. So I decided to raise it up to 70. He does make the call, and the river is a queen. So now there's 4 to a straight on board. He checks it to me, and I go into the tank. After thinking for a while, I decided to just push him all in for his remaining $120. And here was my thought process. If he has the boat, he has the boat. But it's 4 to a straight out there, and he could maybe have some King X. He can have some King Jack or some King Queen in his range. I shouldn't have many kings in my range. If I had King Queen, I would be betting the flop. And if I had pocket kings, I wouldn't be raising the turn. My hand kind of looks like aces here. I would probably play it the same way. I would check the flop, and when the club hits, if I had pocket aces with the club, if he bets, I can raise and probably get him to fold a lot of his hands. But if he does call, I do have some outs on the river. I also now counterfeit Jack 9 suited as well. Now he goes into the tank, and when he goes in the tank, I know I'm good. I'm pretty sure he has a tough decision with some kind of King X type of hand. He only really thinks about it for 30 seconds, and he makes the call. He turns over to King Queen, so he flopped the straight, and we just happen to get there on the turn. The next hand is the last, but the biggest hand of the session. There's one limp, and the middle position raises it to 15. He was the wildest player on the table, and he had everyone covered. He announced this was his last hand, and he already had all his chips racked up. I make the call with pocket 3s and the hijack. The initial limper calls, and we go 3-ways to a flop of 6, 4, 3, 2 hearts. So we flop a set of 3s for the second time of this session. The limper checks, and the initial aggressor puts in a raise of 25. I decide to put in a raise of $70. This is a very draw heavy board, and the way he played, this board could have nailed his range a bunch, and it also could have nailed the limper's range a bunch, so I like to size up pretty big here. The initial limper folds, but the initial aggressor does make the call. The turn is a 10 of hearts, so the flush does get there. He checks it to me, and I put in a bet of $100. This bet allows overpairs to still call, and if he does put in a raise, I can happily get away from this hand. But he does decide on a call. So now I think he either has a low flush or possibly have pocket aces with the ace of hearts. The river brings the best card in the deck. It's another 10, so we fill up on the river. He checks it to me, and we really don't have that hard of a decision to make. I think all better sets should be getting it in on the flop. The only hand I lose to in my eyes is quad 10s. I go into the tank and pretend like I have a hard decision for about a minute, and I move all in for $257. He doesn't think about it for that long, and he does make the call, and he has ace jack of hearts. So he turned the nuts, but he didn't raise me, so I got there on the river. So we scoop up almost $1,000 pot to end the session. We were in for the game for $300. We cashed out for $982. Thank you guys for watching episode 3 of the poker vlog. Let me know what you think of the upgrades I made in this vlog and the styles I shot it in the comment section below. If you guys made it this far, drop a like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I would also like to give a big thank you to you guys for supporting the channel as much as you are right now. This channel is growing way faster than I thought, and I want to thank you for that. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.